Pastor Joshua Robertson is the senior pastor of the Rock Church of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and CEO and founder of Black Pastors United for Education. Through his role, he has spearheaded a variety of community initiatives aimed at education and youth empowerment, including establishing church-based learning centers for local young people who are enrolled in one of Pennsylvania's virtual charter schools. Pastor Josh, welcome to the Liberated Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to come and share this time with you.
Oh, it's great to have you here. I'm so excited by what you're working on in the greater Harrisburg area and beyond, and would love to get into that. But let's start with the learning centers that you have helped to facilitate in your church and starting to expand to other churches as well. This was really something that emerged during the pandemic response, during COVID and school shutdowns and community kind of coming together to support children. I'd love to hear the origin story of that.
Sure, absolutely. Honestly, it started with us receiving, like 40 to 50 calls a day from parents once the kids were released from in-person school and now they're doing this online school. And, we start just getting an onslaught of phone calls from parents asking us, hey, is there anything that you can do? And we were like, we didn't know what to do. We were just a church trying to survive just like anybody else. And I talked to this one parent and she was like, my son, he's going to have to figure it out. I got my high school diploma and everything. And I'm like, okay, well, how old is your son? I'm thinking she's about to say 16, 17. She's like, he's in first grade. I was like, what? So I was like, all right, we got to do something. So we hired a member of our church and she came in and she just oversaw the work of about 6 or 7 students that year. And we really liked that. It was like, man, this is a really cool thing. And so that summer, another 501c3 after school program reached out to us and they asked us, did we have space? Because they wanted to expand. I was like, yeah, we have space. Educating kids is kind of my heartbeat. And then we got to talking. I told them what we had done in the previous year. And they were like, well, would you want to do more of that? It's a full day program, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m., Monday through Friday. I was like, absolutely. So we got connected with some people in DC, Center for Education Reform, and those folks. And we, put our minds together and we kind of built the plane while we were flying it. And that fall, we started with 9 children. We called it the Rock City Learning Center, started with 9 children. And at the end of that year, we had 30 students. And so the 30 students who came to us, just kind of an amazing tale of resilient kids and community and people that really love them, what they can do. 29 out of those 30 students, when they came to us, for failing. And at the end of that year, 10 out of the 30 finished above a 90%, 12 finished above an 80%, 6 above a 70%, 2 above a 60%. And every student that on average came to our learning center 4 days out of the week finished the year on the honor roll. And so we knew then that we were on to something. So that was our first year. And so maybe I'll stop there and see if you want to interject any or ask any questions or whatever may be there.
Yeah, so just a sense of timing, you sort of started off as a little pod with a handful of students kind of during that remote learning, school shutdowns, and then that evolves into kind of a 5-day-a-week learning center. And so I guess where are we up to in terms of timing now in the story? This would be the end of 2021 that you ended that year with, or the spring of 2021 with the 30 students?
Spring of, yes. Yep.
Okay, so then what happened next? What happened as you went into that next academic year, 2021, 2022, last year?
So from that year to the second year, we wanted to expand even within our local facility. So we were like, all right, let's go from 30 kids to about 45. And so we prepared 3 other rooms, but kind of one of the stories on how we did that, we did it through the YES program, Young Entrepreneurship Series. And cool story behind that, kid from the local community was actually shot. And he was 13 years old and he was involved in drugs. He didn't sell hand-to-hand drugs. It was more like doing something for a drug dealer, for another drug dealer. And he just at the wrong place at the wrong time, got caught in a crossfire, but he survived. And so I went to the kid and I said, hey, what would it cost me to keep you out of the street? And I was like, how much do you make out there? And he was like, man, I'm at, about $100 a week. I said, I'll give you $200 a week. Go get 3 of your friends, and all 3 of you, I'll pay you all $200 a week. And what we did here, we put them in the S program. And so their summer consisted of laying floors, painting the rooms, but then also the business side, learning how to run a payroll system through QuickBooks. They learned how to be board members on a 501c3. We would have mock sessions where they would be board members. They learn how to start an LLC. So we gave them, it's a career readiness program. And so we mixed those kids from the neighborhood in with kids from the Learning Center. And so that's how we did our summer program. So we could have hired a general contractor and just, improved the space. But I like to think I think that people who would do what I do need to think like an entrepreneur, right? And how can we empower our children? Yes, I think school is great. Absolutely. I'm a college graduate myself, but not everybody's for college. So what about these career readiness programs? And so I think that's the uniqueness of what we do as a learning center is we kind of look at education holistically. And so that led up into 2022, 2023 year. And then our second year, again, just great success. We expanded, more kids came, and 51% of our kids in our second year finished above a 90% GPA. Mm. So over half of our kids. Now, mind you, these are kids who, we had 4 kids who had IEPs, individual education plans, right? And just because of the newness of our program and the relationship with the cyber charter school, they didn't get the curriculum or the instruction. All 4 of those kids finished the year on the honor roll.
Wow. So what did you end the year with in terms of, or what did you end the year with in terms of enrollment last year? And what are you starting now this year?
We ended last year, I think, with 41 students.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and then this year we're at capacity. We're at 4. We capped ourselves at 40.
Oh, wow.
Because we have other facilities that are ready to, other churches that are willing to do the learning center. And so now we've already started our second location, and we have 3 more locations that we're looking to start. We're staggering the starts of those. And that kind of leads into some of the things we want to talk about with policy and those things.
Yeah, I definitely want to get to policy in a minute, but I'd love to just stay on the kind of structure of these learning centers, because the students are enrolled in the cyber charter in one of Pennsylvania's virtual charter schools. So they attend tuition free for the charter school in Pennsylvania. And then you provide the space and the adult facilitators. So the students are learning through the set curriculum, through the charter, but they're meeting together in these small groups. I know you told me that they meet in kind of small pods within the church environment. So it's not 40 kids in one room, they kind of spread out, but they're able to work, in that kind of social environment. So it's not just this isolating online environment. And then there's adults that are helping them, answering questions, providing support and encouragement. Is that how it's going for you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And even in our pods, we keep the pods less than 10 children. So, and our learning guides make sure that they, number one, take notes. This is our requirement. And the notes that they take, they have to answer 3 essential questions. Number 1, what did you learn? Number 2, what is the teacher asking you? Number 3, what is your opinion? Because we believe that our job is to make them critical thinkers, and that you do more than be able to regurgitate information, but be able to process it and even be conversational around it. So we don't do just one grade in a room. We have up to 3 grades in one room. So it's this peer-to-peer learning, this somehow, mentoring some, mentees some, but it's kind of fluid because there's multiple grades in one room, but still the small space. So no one slips through the cracks, right? And I like to say that my secret sauce for the Learning Center is actually pretty simple. I hire learning guides who are simply the type of people who say, you're not going to fail on my watch, period. Right? So you have an adult in there who's like, these kids are my babies, right? I'm going to make sure that education is happening up in here. And it's not hard. Kids love to learn and kids love to be successful. And so I know there's a lot that people say about inner city kids and, inner city schools and everything. And I don't have a problem with anyone. I think there needs to be more options because kids thrive when you find out what works for them. they thrive, right? So what's wrong with having customizable education? That's kind of what we're able to do, is customize the experience for our kids. So we're making sure that they get what they need. We're for the students, not the system. And I think that's what's important.
I just love this model so much. The public-private partnership, the way in which we can kind of leverage the best of online learning with in-person interaction and adult guides. It's just such a visionary model, and thrilled to see that it's catching on, that you're at capacity and now expanding into other church locations. How did you get into this work, Pastor Josh? What was your background like, and what kind of motivated you to engage in this kind of ministry and youth development in your community?
Sure. So I'll say two things. Number one, I should be a statistic. And number two, somebody loved me. That's the best way I could put it. So a bit about me. So I grew up as a, kind of a big time athlete in this area, basketball, football, just kind of all through my life. I was, always the captain of the team, one of the best players on the team, whatever. And so I actually matriculated through 12 years of school and didn't know how to read. I probably graduated maybe at a second grade reading level. And so I always thought my athletic prowess would get me through, because it did. Between that and having a bit of charisma or whatever that may be, I just kind of got pushed through. But I went to my first college. I should say I wasn't able to receive a Division I scholarship because I couldn't pass the SAT on time. And so I missed out on several opportunities there. So I went to a Division I AA program in North Carolina, in Bowling Springs, North Carolina, Gardner-Webb University. And I went there, my first semester there, played football, had a good season, and had 5 Fs on my transcript, right? And 3 semesters later, I had a 0.67 GPA. So I failed out of there. And the semester before I failed out, I met this bishop in North Carolina. I grew up in the church, so I played the organ, and I met this bishop, and I was playing at his church. And so when I failed out, he was wondering when I was coming back to school, and I wasn't coming back to school because I failed out. So he called me one day. This was January in 2004, I think it was, or 2005, one of these. He called me. And what he didn't know was he called me as soon as I parked. I was in Altoona, Pennsylvania with a guy who I grew up with. And I had no intention on selling any drugs or anything like that. But we had $50,000 worth of heroin in the back of my trunk. And like I said, I had no intention on selling it or anything like that. I just was lost. I was confused. I was hurt. I failed out of school. I didn't know what to do. And this bishop called me, and he was like, man, whatever you're doing right now, he's like, you're about to ruin your life. And man, about the 5th time he said, aren't you? Aren't you? I was crying. I was bawling my eyes out. And I knew that I was lost. My parents wouldn't let me move back home because my dad was like, we don't start stuff and quit stuff. You're going to have to figure it out. And this bishop said, move back down here. So I moved back down there. And the first day I was down there, he enrolled himself and myself in Cleveland Area Community College in Shelby, North Carolina. I lived with him, and he taught me how to be a student and taught me how to read, right? And from that time, I went to Lackawanna College in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and I played football there. And I got a full scholarship to the University of Minnesota. I played football there, and now I have my bachelor's degree, and now I have my master's degree. But this all started with this bishop in North Carolina who took a vested interest in me and was willing to inconvenience his entire life to make sure that I had a chance at life. So that's why I say somebody loved me, right? So for me, the Black Pastors United for Education and the Rock City Learning Center and these learning centers that we established is near and dear to my heart, because I'm trying to give these kids what someone gave to me, right? And so, yeah, it means everything to me. I truly believe that we have an opportunity to unlock the potential in our children, and it's there. And it's exciting watching them come alive, right? Can I give you one little story? So
Please, yes, this is amazing.
about a month ago, young lady who came to the Rock City Learning Center, she actually, joined the church and everything, right? And And we don't have any Christian classes. We don't pray with the kids. We don't do that. Like when the kids come, we don't, just because it's in a church, we don't do anything religious while they're here whatsoever. But this kid, came, and I remember the tears of desperation that her mom had when she came, but to watch the tears of joy after academic success, her daughter's connected to the church. I mean, she's just thrilled, right? And that's what to me is priceless, is to seeing this transformation in these kids and in these families. And I'm excited about it because if you think about it, how many churches do you know across this country that 8 a.m. to 3 p.m., Monday through Friday, Sunday school rooms sit empty and could replicate this model, right? I truly believe we are on the cusp of community revitalization, and that's what excites me.
Oh, I think so too. I think this is just the beginning, and I love to see that you're paving the way for that, and that your own story really is the inspiration. And now you're able to reach out to the youth in your community, some of whom probably have experiences like you did as a child, and you're able to give that hand up to them the way the bishop did for you. And so it's just great to see that come full circle. So you founded the Rock Church of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and then founded the Black Pastors United for Education. Tell us a little bit more about why you decided to found the Black Pastors United for Education and what that organization does.
Sure. Well, I like I was, just saying, the ability to expand this model is just limitless, right? So I knew that we needed to have an entity that could be the umbrella for these learning centers, right? And so that's one piece, to expand the ability to have learning centers. But the second piece is pastors and congregations. I have a burden to inform and educate them as to the laws and policies that are, passed right in front of us, sometimes that we don't even know impact us so significantly, right? And so sometimes some of these arguments, or sometimes the only people who are voting are, we don't know who's voting, right? What I do know is a lot of people who are from neighborhoods like this don't vote locally, right? So they may vote for the presidency, and of course that's important, but don't vote locally for like our state representatives and things like that, people who are making decisions that directly impact our livelihood and the trajectory of our children's future. So for me, I'm saying, okay, can our pastors, as pastors, can we come together and unite our congregations and bring our government officials, our lawmakers? Can we have them come to like town hall meetings and explain to us these bills, these policies, these laws that are being passed? Because I truly believe the only way to have equity amongst equals is if our communities are educated as to the laws and policies that govern us. And so I think that as pastors, we may not be able to get folks to come to church every Sunday or be able to get folks to tithe every week, but I'm pretty sure that we can galvanize our congregation as it relates to resources that should be distributed to our people in our community. And so that's what I'm excited about. Even next month, we're having a town hall meeting with our 3 state representatives, and we have 18 churches right now who are signed up to support this. And we're going to pack out a location, and our state representatives are going to come and they're going to inform us. We're going to ask questions, and so that we can take a constituency of informed voters to the polls and be able to make significant change or whatever we need to do there. I think our politicians and lawmakers, they should know that we support them when they make the right decisions, and we will hold them accountable when they don't. And as people who supposed to represent our communal interests. And so the Black Pastors United for Education, I'm excited about that because I believe fundamentally that a parent should be able to make a choice as to where they want their children to be educated. I think everybody wins if we put the student first, right? Everybody wins. I don't knock the public school system. I mean, I think people are trying to do their level best, right? So the Black Pastors United for Education, I'm excited about what we can do because we are nonprofit, non-religious, and partisan. So we're not for politics, we're not for politicians, we're not for parties, we're for policy, right? So if
Yeah.
we stay on topic, that's what I think, that we have a chance to make a significant difference if we stay there. Yeah.
Such a great vision, a great organization. And so in terms of education policy, it sounds like Black Pastors United for Education is really focused on expanding as many education options as possible for families and providing more equitable access to those learning options through school choice policies that enable education funding to follow families. I guess what is happening in Pennsylvania now that is exciting for you in terms of school choice policies, or what are you seeing in other states that you think would be beneficial to Pennsylvania residents?
Sure. And so with us right now, what I'm excited about is, the fiscal code is coming up, and there's the Lifeline Scholarship that is going to be on the table there. And I don't know what's going to happen with that. What I do know is that, this event in October, we are going to be there in great numbers, to show our state representatives that we're here and we're paying attention, and we're aware of the decisions that will be made, and it's because we are the trustees of our children's future, right? And so how we care for that responsibility is vital. And so I'm excited about that, but I'm also excited for states like Mississippi, right? A state that I have a friend there that I'm working to get down there with a group of pastors, about 30 pastors down there, where we're going to figure out what we need to do to kind of replicate this town hall setting that we're having next month here, to do it there with their lawmakers, because we need more education opportunities there in Mississippi. And so that's kind of what I see for the Black Pastors United for Education is, wherever, the laws need to be adjusted and changed, or whatever that may be, we can build up. We already have congregations there, right? We already have. So you figure 18 churches, right? That's every bit of, 2,000 people easily, right? And so I think that makes a difference when you can pack out an auditorium with your, leaders, and say, hey, educate us. And now that we're educated, okay, now we know what to do on the day that it's time to vote. We can come in great numbers and vote for our interests. And I think the interest has to be the students over the system. And that's what I stand for. That's what the Black Pastors United for Education, that's what we stand for.
Great that you started this to really make an impact in your local community and in Pennsylvania, but now the Black Pastors United for Education organization is really national and helping pastors in other states to learn more about these issues and advocate for education choice. So great to see that. And I'd love to hear a little bit more about your kind of vision for expansion, or what you're starting to see with the learning centers. You already said you've opened a second location. You're seeing a lot of parent demand. What, in sort of your sort of preferred vision of the future, say 3 to 5 years from now, what do you see the landscape looking like with these learning centers, not only throughout Pennsylvania, but nationally?
Sure. So I believe in scaling, right? So even the learning centers that are starting, like, we cap them first year maximum 30 students, right? So I look at it and say, in 5 years, I could see easily 1,000 kids in central Pennsylvania, right? And in 10 years, very, very easily, you could quadruple that once this model is understood. And one thing that I do, and the reason why I say talk about scaling, because I vet pastors that are interested, because it's not just being interested, it is having a passion for kids, and it is having that entrepreneurial spirit and collaborative spirit, right? You got to have that. You have to have the entrepreneurial spirit. For instance, the YES program, like I mentioned, like, yes, we can get you, philanthropic funds in order to, renovate your church. But why not make it a program where you include your kids? They need to learn that, right? As much as possible. They need to I mean, we replaced the roof in our church, and the kids oversaw the business transaction, right? I literally had them, just here's what it looks like. They're looking at quotes, they're, examining the contract, right? That type of experience is just incredible. But you have to think that way in order to make this really work. And so I believe that that's my responsibility. So I know that, there's pastors all over the country that has already expressed interest in doing these learning centers. But I take my time to vet them and then do my level best to even try to mentor them in how I do what I do here at the Rock City Learning Center. And now, what we do at Turning Point Learning Center in York, Pennsylvania.
Mm.
We do our best to do that. So I'm excited because the ability to scale is really endless and it's sustainable. So our first 2 years, we were 100% dependent on philanthropic dollars, right? But now we have, the relationship that we have now with the cyber charter school, we are able to sustain through them giving us support for the supportive services that we render to their students. And so that's been incredible because that makes what we do sustainable, $325 per month per kid. And so we have 40 kids, that's 13,000 a month. Right. And so that takes care of your operational budget. And I know I'm giving you kind of getting in the weeds of things, but the reason why I'm mentioning this is because what we can do is broker deals that, business deals that can sustain the work that we do. I don't think it would be good to start this for a year or two and then it fail out. You got to create systems that are sustainable. And so we are indirectly tapped into taxpayer dollars, right? They're in a public school education and we provide supportive services. They give us a little bit for doing that. So the combination of what they give us and then some relationships that we have with philanthropists who want to see this vision move, it's just been incredible. And so the ability to sustain and to scale is all there now, right? So the opportunity is there. It's just a matter of, is your church, is your pastor, do they have what it takes to really do this? And if so, I like to do everything I can to empower that.
Yeah, you're having such great academic success with young people. What other sort of non-academic measures are you seeing? How are the students doing kind of social emotionally? Are they, happy? What are some of these sort of non-academic measures that you can tap into and tell us about?
Absolutely. So the kids who come to the Rock City Learning Center love it here. Let me talk about first safe, right? We've had one physical altercation in 2 years. So, you're talking about, and that wasn't even, it wasn't even, we laugh at it now. But that wasn't even major. The kids love coming here. They have a great time. And some of the things that we do, we have someone who kind of focuses on that. But we want to know, how many friends did you make in a quarter, right? How many times did you have to forgive and how many times did you have to be forgiven? So we try to deal with the character of the relationships that they have, because forming relationships are vitally important. So not only that, even professional relationships. So when you need help with a class, our guides help you to email your teacher and ask for help, right? Or if you need a tutor, okay, we're going to help you to, we outsource tutoring. So, okay, let's find a tutor, but then let's put you on the phone, right? And let's give you a script and you can ask them for their help, right? Yes, we can do it for you, but these are skills that kids need to have and they love doing it. They're a little nervous at first and we help them when they're not exactly ready. But we try to, put kind of every part of how we run this in their hands too. We have kids who clean up. We hire kids to work. Even if you get in trouble, for instance, and need a break or whatever like that, you don't just go sit in the corner. You come up here to the administrative office and help the administrators kind of do some of the things that they're doing. So we create an experience, like I said, holistic education, to make sure that our children are prepared once they leave our care. They're prepared to be positive contributors to this world.
Yeah, and I love seeing that you're focused on scalability, but scalability and high quality scaling. So really that quality control where you're vetting the pastors who want to open additional learning centers within your network. I think that that's really important. And I wonder, why do you think it's important to kind of cap your attendance at, say, 30 kids, right? Because I hear this a lot in the microschool world and kind of the unconventional education space. Other education entrepreneurs will say, we don't have any desire to be 1,000-person program. We want in one location. We want to scale, but we want to scale horizontally, not vertically. Why do you think that that's so special or important in your scalability plans to stay small?
Sure. Simply put, you can't slip through the cracks, right? You just have, and we can customize the experience. We have the ability. When you have 30 kids in the classroom, good luck trying to figure out the learning style of one, or even 20 kids in the classroom. I mean, it's just too much for some, right? For some people and for some students, that environment works for them, right? And I think that they should be able to stay there if that's what works for them. But for other students, such as how I was as a kid, there's no way in the world. I was too distracted. I was just, everywhere else. There's no way in the world I could survive in a room full of 20 other kids and one adult, right? So you make the room smaller, right? It's a more personalized touch. The kids know that they're cared for. And if you, as a network, then we can have days where we have like a field day or a field trip or whatever, and the learning centers we can have a big picnic and you can have the big experience, but the education can be done in a smaller setting. And that's what I'm excited about. I'm the same way. I don't want a big building and bring all the kids to no. Let's get these church buildings all over the city, full of these centers, and let's hire members of our church and members of the community and people we know care and people we know that they'll be safe and with them, and let's educate. That's what fires me up.
Yeah, kind of retaining that highly personalized small learning environment, but then, like you said, bringing groups together frequently for that larger social experience, and that especially the young people and your educators and adult guides realize that they are part of something much bigger than just their one learning center, that this is a larger network to tap into and share resources and knowledge. So great to see that. And it's great that you are working on expanding the network through Black Pastors United for Education. I wonder, Pastor Josh, if you can offer some advice to those listening, whether it's pastors in other churches across the country or parishioners in these churches who are excited about the potential of creating a learning center in their church. What advice would you give to them to get started in building a learning center at their home church?
So I think that a pastor should assess the skills and the talents and the gifts of their own congregation. I think that kind of tells you where you are in the moment. Like you could want to go somewhere, but the people who you're working with, that's who you got. So for me, when I looked at the congregation that I serve, I have educators in it. I have community. I have one of our guys is a serial entrepreneur from Brooklyn, right? And he's just like he does construction and all of that. So when we did the Yes program, right, he led that. Him and his wife have been in nonprofits for the last umpteen years. And so we do a music program where our musician is, one of our learning guides, right? My wife, she loves education. At one point she was majoring in childhood education when she was in college. She works at the Learning Center. So I think you assess the skills that you have in your congregation and gift sets there. I think that's the first thing. And then secondly, what are the needs in your what are the needs in your community? I think in all of our communities, education is a need. So maybe figuring out how to bridge that between the skills that are already in your congregation and the needs that are in your community. As far as replicating what we do, we take you through the process. So if you're interested, if this is something you hear and feel like you want to be a part of, you can contact us and we'll walk you through how to do it. It's not hard. Like I said, my secret sauce is I put the kids in rooms with, adults who say, you're not going to fail on my watch. So bring it, right? And so that's how we are. And we incentivize everything for our kids. So you want something, you got to earn it. You got to academically and socially earn it. And so you have to have, that's why I say the pastor and the leaders of that learning center has to be willing to be creative and think outside the box in order to provide this experience that kids want to have. But you got to make them earn it. You got to make them work for it. And the kids, they love rising to the challenge. They absolutely love it. So I think that's what I would look for in a pastor, in a congregation. And as far as, steps to get started, I think you reach out. And we walk you right through the process, and we'll be glad to.
So how can people reach out to you? How can they find out more about what you're working on and connect with you?
Sure. bpue.org. Black Pastors United for Education. They can reach us online there. Also, the church website, the Rock Church, hbg.com. You can reach us there. And then, I would say those are our first places, or you can reach us on social media, on Facebook, on Instagram, Black Pastors United for Education, or the Rock Church, either one. Both of those filters, they all come here. So, but just reach out to us. And like I said, we'll be more than glad to walk you through a process.
Well, I am so excited by what you're building and how you're helping to inspire others to build the same. And I'm really excited to follow your progress and see how many more of these learning centers emerge over the coming years. I think, your vision of 1,000 of these learning centers in central Pennsylvania is amazing. And I can't wait to see that come to life. So Pastor Joshua Robertson, thank you so much for being on the Liberated podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed our time together. Thank you.